So, Supergirl is the follow up to last year's Superman, and as a change of pace from that movie, which had a very, bright and hopeful atmosphere, Supergirl aims to be the messier DC Comics movie coated in brash boozing and grimy aliens. But for a film that desires to party it up with an intergalactic pub crawl, there's an underwhelming vibe to how much excitement can be had from this off-planet adventure. Because a thrilling space adventure centering on outsider anti-heroes surrounded by weird aliens isn't hard to craft with the crass charm of James Gunn, like with his Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But this film comes from Greg Gillespie, who's known for movies like I, Tonya, and it results in a superhero movie that is more rote than rowdy. There are thankfully no introductions given for Zor-el, otherwise known as Supergirl, with Millie Alcock stumbling onto the scene looking more for drinks to consume than crimes to thwart. On this solo birthday celebration, her dog Crypto joins along for her chance to party it up across the galaxy. But there isn't much time to appreciate her inebriated antics among the gross-looking aliens as her ship is stolen and the dog is poisoned by the villainous Creme of the Yellow Hills, a space pirate with an ensemble fit for a Mad Max movie. Like, it looks like his face was hit with, like, it looks like he was trying to, like, rhinestone his face, basically. Specializing in weapons and human trafficking, Creme has made some enemies, including the young Ruthie, played by Eve Ridley, eager to avenge the death of her family at his hands. Supergirl isn't interested in helping this girl, but Ruthie's persistence makes her an ally in this battle for family. The one word that comes to mind throughout this movie is standard. There's a sufficient amount of production work placed into scenes of intergalactic buses and convenience stores that sell bug turds as popcorn, but it always feels like something is missing. It could be the lack of grime for strange creatures that Supergirl encounters, but her passive nature around all of them may account for how routine these character designs appear. Maybe it's that Supergirl's messy pub crawls are never given room for some fun. They just kind of blaze by these character moments in hazy montages with few amusing exchanges. It's hard not to compare the abundance of outsiders and strange planets to James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. By comparison, these many creatures and locations feel too generic, as though they were on loan from a Star Wars show. It's a good thing the movie provides titles for the many planets that it quickly cuts to, given how similar they all look, with either metallic urban environments or large open spaces of nothing. The best part of the movie is how Millie Alcock fits into the role of Supergirl with almost too much ease. Everything from her stumbling swagger to her casual conversations in between scenes of heat vision and punching people through walls. It does have a lot of charm. I really liked her in the role. It's unfortunate, though, that she doesn't have much to work with this script. Ruthie's quest for revenge is so by the numbers that even Supergirl starts mockingly repeating her monologue for ending the life of Creme. Creme is a fine villain with a real presence and a salivation for the sadistic and the misogynist, the way that he just kind of like salivates over imprisoning women. But the villain mostly sticks to the cackling antagonist textbook when it comes to weakening Supergirl and threatening Ruthie. And then there's the ideal casting of Jason Momoa as the self-centered bounty hunter Lobo, adding so little to the film's story or banter that he feels like he just kind of wandered in from a completely different movie. It's not as big a waste as, say, like, I still haven't gotten over Mark Strong being wasted as Sinestro in 2011's Green Lantern, but it's not on that level. But there's a sparing use of this Superman wild card that one hopes that will have something more substantial for him to do in future DC Comics projects. Rarely does the film find a solid thematic focus, to the point that even Supergirl's lecture to Ruthie on the nature of murder feels more like a PSA than a genuine growth moment. There's clearly a fear of fitting in, leading to a choice to remain on the fringes of nomadic life with no place to call home for Supergirl. Kara's backstory is progressively revealed throughout the film to make clear her tragic nature, the loss of her home, that being Krypton's Argo City. Of course, Superman, once again played by David Cornsweet, is there to ease her transition to Earth, but he always realizes he needs to keep his distance and give her some time to find herself, and I really like that about his character. The whole movie has an air of uncertainty about how to position Supergirl in this fresh cinematic universe. Rather than dive into the deep end as with Superman, which just kind of hit the ground running, Supergirl's debut plays it safe with a story so familiar that it feels less like a fun adventure and more like a test drive for the character. And, to the film's credit, she steers well when duking it out with space pirates. All the fight scenes are pretty cool. But wow, did I want her to take these off-planet adventures more off-road? There wasn't a lot of time watching her pub crawls. I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see her get into fights with aliens and drink weirder drinks and have bizarre exchanges and party it up and have weird dance. I wanted to spend more time with her, and I think that's a problem with this film is that it's under 2 hours, and I feel like there's a lot cut here because there's a lot of stuff that works. And I don't think there's as much of it as there should be. Because Supergirl, I mean, the film has some fun, but it often stumbles, making for a film that rarely finds a good groove for the character. The movie succeeds for how well Millie Alcock rises above a bland script, likely hoping the movie would just be found once all the creepy aliens and galactic sets were in place. Interesting concepts of how different suns affect Supergirl's powers and Krem's diabolical methods of human trafficking women, to serve as wives and mothers, shouldn't feel so by the numbers that they're brushed by without too much cleverness. The film ends with Supergirl feeling more certain of herself and ready to become a bigger part of the DC Comics movie universe. And let's hope the next film gives her more to do than just interact with characters who don't have much to say between her rousing battles. Supergirl, she just deserves so much more than just more bad guys to punch really hard, which she does, and it is pretty cool. And I do like how she is weakened throughout the story and how she kind of progressively reveals her origins. I just felt like there's a bit more missing. I wanted some more. I wanted some more cool fight scenes and weird alien planets and more of Supergirl's drunk pub crawls and just more of her anti-hero antics. I wanted more, and it felt like this film had a little bit of it, but not quite enough. So let's hope there's a lot more Supergirl in DC Comics future, because for Supergirl's debut in James Gunn's new DC cinematic universe, it's only an okay film.